If you've been gardening for a while, you already know this truth. Healthy soil grows healthy plants, and if there's one tiny underground worker that can completely transform your soil game, it's earthworms. These wriggly legends aerate soil, break down organic matter, and leave behind castings that are basically black gold for your garden. But here's the part most gardeners miss. There's one common kitchen scrap that attracts worms faster than a traditional compost pile, and can boost your soil even better than many store-bought fertilizers, and chances are, you've thrown it away more times than you can count. Today on Roots Haven Grounds we're talking about melon rinds, yes, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, and why they're like a 5-star buffet for earthworms. Before we zoom in on the magic scrap, let's talk worms for a second. Earthworms are nature's soil engineers. As they tunnel through the ground, they loosen compacted soil, improving airflow and water drainage. Their castings, worm poop, let's call it what it is, are packed with plant-available nutrients, beneficial microbes, and natural growth hormones. Unlike synthetic fertilizers that feed plants directly and can sometimes harm soil life, worm activity builds long-term soil fertility. You're not just feeding plants, you're building an ecosystem. So the question becomes, how do we invite more worms into our garden beds naturally? Enter melon rinds. Melon rinds are honestly a perfect storm of everything worms love. First, they're extremely high in moisture. Worms breathe through their skin, and they thrive in damp environments. A fresh melon rind can be over 90% water, which, creates a moist microclimate in the soil that worms actively seek out. Second, they're just loaded with natural sugars. As melon rinds start to break down, microbes go wild feeding on those sugars. Worms don't actually eat fresh food scraps directly at first. They feed on the microorganisms that colonize decomposing organic matter. Melon rinds kickstart that microbial feast faster than most other scraps. Third, the flesh left on the rind is soft and breaks down quickly. Compare that to something like carrot peels or cabbage leaves, which take longer to soften and decompose. Melon rinds turn into worm food lightning fast. The result? Worms show up sooner, stay longer, and reproduce in that area if conditions remain good. A compost pile is great, but it takes time to heat up, cool down, and reach that sweet spot where worms feel comfortable moving in. Fresh melon rinds buried directly in garden beds create instant feeding stations without needing a full composting process first. Because they're so wet and sugar-rich, microbial activity begins within days. That's like ringing a dinner bell underground. Worms from surrounding soil zones migrate toward the food source. Many gardeners notice increased worm activity in as little as a week after burying melon scraps, especially when the soil is warm and moist. That's honestly much faster than waiting around for finished compost to be ready. Let's be clear here. Melon rinds themselves aren't a complete fertilizer, but what they create in the soil can actually outperform many bagged products over time. When worms process decomposing melon scraps, they produce castings that contain balanced nutrients and forms plants can easily absorb. Plus, these castings improve soil structure, helping sandy soils hold on to moisture and loosening up heavy clay soils. On top of all that, worm-rich soil has higher microbial diversity. Those microbes help unlock nutrients already present in your soil, which means your plants get more food without you having to add more inputs. So instead of a quick nutrient hit like synthetic fertilizer, you're building a self-sustaining fertility system. And honestly, that's the long game every serious gardener should be playing. Now let's get practical. Tossing rinds on top of the soil and hoping for the best isn't the move. That can attract pests and create smells you don't want. The key is burying them. Dig a hole about 6 to 8 inches deep in an empty part of your bed between rows or near heavy feeders like tomatoes, squash, or corn. Chop the melon rinds into smaller pieces first. This increases surface area and speeds up decomposition. Place the pieces in the hole, then cover them completely with soil. Press the soil down lightly to remove air pockets. This does 3 things. It hides the food from pests, keeps moisture in, and puts the scraps directly in the zone where worms are active. Within days, microbes get to work. Within weeks, worms follow. Within a couple of months, that spot becomes a fertility hotspot. So, this method really shines in vegetable beds, raised beds, and fruit tree basins. Honestly, any place where you want rich biologically active soil is going to benefit from this approach. In dry climates, melon rinds are especially powerful because they add both organic matter and moisture, which is super helpful. But in rainy regions, they still work beautifully. Just make sure your soil drains well so the scraps don't go anaerobic. You can even rotate burial spots around your garden throughout the season. This creates multiple worm-attracting zones that, over time, gradually enrich your entire growing area. Even good things can go wrong if overdone. Don't dump huge amounts of melon scraps in one hole. Thick, compacted layers can go slimy and smelly due to lack of oxygen. So, mix them with a bit of dry material like shredded leaves or soil as you bury them. Also, avoid placing scraps right against young seedlings. As microbes break down fresh organic matter, they temporarily use nitrogen from the surrounding soil. Give a little distance, about 6 to 12 inches away from plant stems is perfect. And always cover scraps fully. Exposed food attracts flies, rodents, and other critters you don't want digging up your beds. If you're into vermicomposting, melon rinds are a superstar feed. Red wigglers go crazy for them. Just be sure to balance them with dry bedding like shredded cardboard or paper since they're so wet. Chop them small, bury them in the bedding, and watch your worms cluster in that spot within days. It's honestly one of the fastest ways to boost worm activity and casting production in a bin. Using melon rinds this way, it really shifts your mindset from feeding plants to feeding the soil food web. When you focus on building life below ground, plants just kinda thrive above ground with less effort, fewer inputs, and, honestly, greater resilience. It's simple, it's free, and it turns kitchen waste into a powerful soil building tool. That's the kind of gardening we love here at Roots Haven Grounds: practical, natural, and rooted in how ecosystems actually work. So, next time you slice up a watermelon or melon, don't just see scraps. See future worm castings, richer soil, and stronger plants. Give this a try in one corner of your garden and compare the soil in a few months. I think you'll be amazed at the difference in texture, moisture retention, and worm activity. If you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe to Roots Haven Grounds for more real, hands-on gardening tips that actually work. And hey, share this with a fellow gardener who's ready to level up their soil naturally.